Hello. Welcome to our live stream. Today we are here. My name is Kadieva. I'm the principal of the international school, and I'm with Aleka.
Yeah, hi, my name is Aleka Molokova. I'm the lead of academics in the school. So yeah, we wanted to chat today about kids changing schools.
And their parents having to choose the school for them when they, let's say, move to another country or to another city or to another state or changing school for whatever reason. So I guess if you are watching this, then you are already interested in the question of school changes. Maybe you are considering a school change for your kid. Maybe you are considering a major life change for yourself that will probably go with a school change as well. I don't know. I think this is actually a big topic and a big problem. So I don't know. Aleka, do you have any?
So the question is, like, if sometimes you change school because it's just inevitable, like you move for family reasons or any other reasons, and or your school closes or something like that, and you have to change it. And sometimes families choose to change their school because they want something different they want a different learning experience for their child, for example. Or maybe their previous school wasn't a good fit. Anyway, for whatever reason it does happen, it still leads to several, questions, concerns, what it leads to. And of course, there are always pros and cons. So do you have any experience about changing the school? I know we have a lot of kids in our school who came here.
I mean, all of them changed school because we are a middle school. So they had some school or they were homeschooled before joining us. So we are at least one change at least the first change in their life. But yeah, I mean, I've had the experience changing school myself when I was a kid, and my family moved to a different country. We moved to the US. I didn't speak in English. I was a little kid. I mean, what I can tell you is picking a good school for your kid when you move country is very, very important, because otherwise your kid will be just like me. It was my primary school, so I didn't speak almost any English, and I remember I was dreaming for a bear to escape a zoo and run across the school, because one of the few words I knew in English was the word bear, and then I could tell them that there was a bear, and for a second they would believe that I was normal. So that was my experience of changing school when I was a kid.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so, and then I changed a lot of schools afterwards, and most of them were cool, actually. I mean, American school was also cool. I just didn't speak any English, so I couldn't probably appreciate it as much.
So what we can tell, even if the school is amazing, the new school that you picked for your child, it still might be a stress, and it's still usually somewhat a stress.
I would say it is always a stress. I mean, any adaptation is a stress, scientifically wise. So whenever your kid changes a school, it will be a stress. And so I would say an important question is, it's a question that I would say many parents have, is, should I change the school? Because taking into account the stress that my kid will go through, will it be worth it? Will the benefits of the new school be stronger than the negative things about the school I'm currently in, we're currently in?
What are the challenges? What can be the challenge for a kid to change in the school? If we decide, say, as a parent, that, okay, we are changing the school for whatever reason, maybe it wasn't a good fit, maybe we're moving, so we have to change. So what are going to be the challenges?
Not taking into account obvious challenges related to the situation when you change country, and so the language in which your kid is schooling, or changing the school format, like let's say you were in the national public school, and now you're in an international private school. That's going to be totally different experience for a kid. Even if, let's say, you were in an international English language school in, I don't know, France, and then you moved to Italy and you are going again to the international school in English in Italy. However, I would say all new kids, all new teachers, all new rules, all new schedule, all new timetable. I mean, for people who go to school, kids or teenagers, the time they spend at school is basically the biggest time in their day, often, especially in Europe, where I live in France. Kids go to school starts at 8, sometimes 8:30 a.m. and finishes at 6 p.m. And they start this lifestyle at the age of 10 and they finish when they graduate from college. So they spend their whole life at school. So changing school is changing so much.
Your whole life. Yeah, so that's a psychological, part of it. That is just the adaptation to the new everything when changing the school. And that's, of course, happens also inevitably when you're changing it. And people speak a lot, like psychologists speak a lot about how important the stability is for a child. So if we decide that we need to change it, means we're still going to challenge the stability in the kid's life. But if we decide to do it, we need to realize that it's gonna be stress anyway, right?
And it's not about your kid, and it's not about some subjective feelings like, oh, my kid is changing school and I don't know, their academic performance decreases, drops. Maybe that's because my kid is something. No, this is quite, I would say, natural. I came across a survey, some longitude study that was published in American Journal of Education. Now, I think about related to the statistics about students' academic performance and how it is related to students changing school. So I don't know if I can share a screen. I guess I managed to, yeah. So as you can see, if normally a kid never changed, if a student didn't change school after 8th grade, then more than 75% would be enrolled in a 12th grade and would complete high school within 2 years of 12th grade. Whereas if they changed 2 schools or more after the 8th grade, they would be at slightly above 50%, which is a considerable decrease. And also, if student got enrolled into the 8th grade and didn't change school, they would most probably keep it there. If they changed more than 1 school, more than 2 schools, they would drop out of 12th grade. At least almost 1 out of 4 students would drop out of 12th grade. That's really a lot. And that's a huge survey conducted over a long time and over a huge amount of students who were taken into account. So that's something, that's a problem that is actually a serious problem in education. And that's something super objective and very natural and very expectable, I would say. So if your kid is about to change school, expect some change.
Yeah, that's an impressive statistics. So it kind of shows that how much the change of the school actually does influence the child's performance and the child's education. And because sometimes we think what's the thing about it? All the schools are the same. We just move to another school, or we even moved to a better school, but it's still a school. So we say that it still does affect the child, but right? When doing this, we can think of the ways to make it less stressful for them, to make it more, easily acceptable, to make it the school accessible, and this kind of things.
Yeah.
The definite advantages of changing the school might be, the academic part, of course. Though it still takes some time for a child after moving to a new school to adapt to the style of teaching, to adapt to the new teachers, to how classes go. It's still, if you're going to a school with a great academic potential, it might influence your child's academic performance in a better way anyway, despite the whole stress of moving to a new school.
So I guess the question that raises is, how do I choose a school for my kid? And we don't have, maybe you do, I don't have a universal answer on any question about school changes. But I guess what we can do is we can talk about, maybe tell about all the main options people have when they are considering a school change. Make sure that you are aware of all of them, and maybe some of them sound to be specifically attractive to you, then don't hesitate to.
I would say generally, if we were having this conversation, say, I don't know, 20 years ago, there would definitely be less options. And now there are, with all the, technology, with all the development of all kind of educational projects and everything around the world, like there are so many options that are out there. So for now, we're not limited to just say just local public schools, but there are so many other options that we can consider and find whatever option is the better fit for our family situation, for the particular child, because even within one family, like different schools might be better fit for different kids. So the options basically are, the most common and obvious option is just a local national school, which is just a public school. And of course, especially if you're moving to another country, that's the first option that comes to mind. Because,
or a private school, but also some local school following more or less nationalized curricula, following standards and local requirements.
And this way is obviously commonly known as the best, fastest way to integrate and to learn the local language. Because if you're moving not knowing the language and also not knowing any people around, of course, this is the first, idea that comes to mind, that this will help the child to integrate really fast. It's also arguably one of the really stressful ones, but also if we overcome this kind of initial stress that comes with it, it's something that allows you to integrate locally pretty fast.
Yeah, and also I would say, fortunately or unfortunately, in my opinion, unfortunately, but probably different people have different viewpoints about that. Very often it's the only option that immigrants have when you move to a different country. Not all countries allow your kid to stay schooled in some other than national school, because for them it's an important thing. Like that's the French case, for example. As they say in France, getting education is not your right, but it's your duty. You cannot renew your visa or your life permit or residence permit or whatever if you don't show that your kid is schooled in a school that follows national curriculum, goes to that school every day, etc. So very often people just don't have much choice, but we moved to France when my brother was 11. He didn't speak any French at all. At this point, I guess our viewers would think that my parents are very into dropping kids into schools on a language that they don't speak, but whatever. We moved to France, and then he went to a local public school, and he ended up really well. He loved it. He had a lot of friends. He's not a language-oriented person at all. He speaks some incredible French, and he's very well integrated and following doing some amazing things accessible to only French people in France. So that's for many people, that's a good fit. I mean, and that's the most obvious choice. So although it's often the most stressful choice, it also has
there is also a perk about it that even though if it's a national school, so it automatically follows the national educational standards, which might be great, but if you know that in your case, in your family case, you might be moving again, this is going to mean that what your kids studied in the school might not be automatically transferred to the new educational system in a new country that you're moving to. So this would be one more thing to think of if you're choosing this one.
Yeah, and then so I would say the other more or less obvious choice for people who are changing countries often or consider to do this more than once is obviously an international school following some I would say well-established international curricula like IB schools, for example, or this sort of schools. I know a family, for example, who moved from Asia. I don't remember where exactly, from Asia to Prague, from Prague to Berlin, from Berlin to Toronto, and their kids followed the same curricula all across those countries, which is, I guess, a great choice for the kids, because at least they don't need to study the same things 5 times, or they don't have huge gaps academically, and they all speak, of course, perfect English. I don't know how about their Czech and German, if they learned any of those, but I guess they did, maybe. Not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's a choice for many expats, especially English-speaking expats to countries, non-English speaking countries, especially countries in Asia, when kids just choose, like parents choose for their kids school where the teaching language is English, because this is the most accessible one, and especially they will keep moving. English will still need to stay their major language. And also in these schools, most of the time, the schools are aware of all this, stress and everything that comes with school changing. And they tend to think about it more than the regular public schools, local schools, and tend to address, the emotional, state of kids and emotional problems that kids might have as well.
But I mean, people who don't move from one country to another, they also send their kids to international schools,
sure.
Right? Like, you don't have to move, don't have to be moving all the time person.
Yeah.
To opt for it. People like international schools for teaching their kids another language. This might be, I don't know, a French language, a French international school in the US, and so kids will be fluent in French while living in the US, so they will be fluent in 2 languages, which is cool. They might have some more interesting, I would say, approaches towards the curriculum, maybe more open-minded, maybe organize some I don't know, international experiences, which is also something that many families value, right? So
also the diversity, because their kids who go there would be from all kind of backgrounds, all kind of different places, and many people value that. Yeah, so I mean, another option that we, I think, need to talk about is just purely online schools.
I don't know that much about those actually. Like,
this is just basically what it means. There, even I know a lot about US based schools like that. And this is just purely online school. Usually might follow the same, some of them are state based, so they follow the national curriculum like any other public school, but it's just purely online. So the kids need to go physically to the school building, but they can learn from wherever.
and they had this before COVID?
They did.
Wow.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
So not as much as they do now, but they did have it. They even sometimes they send you the lab kits, that when you need to do the chemistry, like the labs for chemistry, they even send you the kits. So you need to do it at home and record it in a video or something. So some of the schools, they work differently. Some of the schools you need to connect at a particular time, and it's a live classes with a group of other kids. So you need to be there, and there is a schedule.
But that gives incredible mobility to the family. They can go wherever, whenever and wherever. That sounds...
Yeah. So this is that's definitely an advantage to it. And for families who are traveling, and for families who just, even within the country, or just for families who, like, for the kids who find it more, like, for whom it's just more comfortable to study from their own environment. Or I know some kids who do that, not actually from their home environment, but go into a local, I don't know, library, and they have a spot there, and then they come with their laptop or use the library computer and connect to their classes from there, and then go do their own thing after. So for other schools, there is no, live classes. So it's just either pre-recorded lectures, or there are several, software things that they use. So they don't require presence, like physical presence at particular designated time, but you still need to cover all, all the subjects, do all the assignments, submit them, but it's really self-paced. So you need to just think about your time on your own. And
that sounds like some incredible time management challenge for
right, and self-management
for a
too.
kid, right? Like maybe teenagers do this better, maybe, but I would say for younger kids that sounds, I would say for younger kids that sounds as an incredible time management challenge for their parents, but for teenagers that might be actually an interesting challenge for themselves.
Yeah, to figure it out themselves. Yeah, that might be, a very useful skill as well.
I would like to see a survey, maybe some study about how, like, this phenomena of people going to college, what they call them in America, freshmen, who just left high school and it's their first year of college, and then they consistently fail because they are not checked all the time. They don't have 5,000 exams in the year. They just have one after the first 4 months, and they just are not ready for that. I would like to see a study about students who would go to high school, let's say, and an online school, self-paced online school, and then how they do in college. I guess they have to struggle less.
That sounds like it should be true, because that's a huge challenge for, for many kids in, say, in US who just don't learn these time management skills. And they do require it in college, and they also do require it in a lot of, at work. Like in many, positions right now, when it's synchronous and you don't need to actually be like show up and sit at the office all the time, but you need to really self-regulate and create your own schedule and think of when the task should be completed, set your own deadlines and these kind of things. So that might be an incredible skill to learn, like life skill too. And with this also, what it also allows to do in these kind of online schools is when, say, you don't have to depend on how the group is moving, because say you need to, you're a fast learner, like you grasp everything really quick, and you don't need to wait for the rest of the group. So you can submit and even pass your, like, say, the test on particular subject whenever you're ready, even if it's not at the end of the year or the end of whatever testing period. You can test earlier when you're ready. Or on the other hand, you can always slow down and take your time figuring out the particular topic to really understand it, and not just move forward with the group not fully getting it.
That sounds like a big advantage, actually. But then I don't know if the schools, you tell me as a online schools expert, if they organize, how do they deal with, let's say, social interactions? Do they have some school community? Do they have?
Exactly. This is the another perk about this, that this really lays on the family to figure that out, because online schools, basically, they provide the platform, they provide the testing, they provide all the educational materials and everything, but they don't really, they're not that involved in you as physical schools. So it's really a family thing in this case to figure out all the social aspects of how their kid is. I mean, aside from all the time management with classes and education, it really lays on the family shoulders to, figure out where their kid would go, to see other kids, where their kid would go for some extracurricular things.
Or what would make your kid do some sports. And also, I guess if you are a kind of parent who has, who believes that limiting screen time is important, you would struggle there as well. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
There we move, I would say, naturally from online schools to homeschooling, which is, I guess, your favorite type of schooling.
Yeah, I mean, so generally, I even feel bad about calling it homeschooling because I know it's a formal, term for it, but many families choose. So it's a very, diverse term. Say online schooling is also kind of considered homeschooling because kids most of the time stay at home, apparently, and the schools, like the schools in the US like that, there are still officially schools. So you're still registered as a school student, though the school is online. With homeschooling, though, it can be different things. If you register officially as a homeschooler in a country like US, where it's possible in a pretty easy way. There are a lot of countries where you can't legally do that at all. Though there are countries like US, a lot of European countries, Canada, where it's very accessible and you can do it pretty easily, and you just need to report a couple times a year. Some countries require for kids to pass tests at the end of each year or at the end of each term. Some countries don't. They do different kind of reporting. But a lot of families on the move, and a lot of families who have to change their, educational paths that their kids are doing right now, choose it, of course, like partly for the flexibility, and they still can move and don't have to physically, deal with entering a different school. But also because it allows you to, have some classes, have your kid have some classes online, have your kids have some classes in person in the place where you live, have your kid, study something on a self-paced.
Okay, I'll just jump into conclusions. I'll jump into assumptions. So there is one assumption, you comment on it. There is a very common assumption that when a kid goes homeschooled, goes homeschooling, whatever, starts to be, so the assumption is that this puts an incredible responsibility, additional responsibility, and additional efforts on the parents who now have to teach the kid on their own and actually manage all his extracurricular activities that are, and just teach that homeschooling is parents teaching the kid. Your kid is homeschooled. How do you teach him? Ever?
Yeah, not at all, though I am a teacher. So, I mean, I can know about my kid a lot in a different way, but but generally there is an assumption that homeschooling is a thing, when you just, kids don't go to school anymore, you sit at the kitchen all together and you teach them all the subjects and everything. And I would need to tell you, especially say in the central US, this kind of homeschooling really does exist. I mean, it
exists in many places, I would say.
I mean, there are families who do it, and there are families who do prefer it. And I do have a huge respect to those families who decide to do this for their kids, and say parents are really have their expertise in many things and they decide to go through this together with kids. This is great if this is doable and accessible to you, and if you enjoy it too. I would say many families who are officially registered as homeschooling families do it differently. Say they really find other options. Say they find a set curriculum or that the kids cover online or not online. They find several classes that their kid is taking, or they choose any other kind. Say they choose the self-directed style of learning, when they follow whatever kid is doing really well or whatever the kid is really interested in and focus on that and just cover the other subjects, on their way. But to really say if the kid is passionate about, world history, they would really focus on that and make sure he would do, and he has a lot of time to, read all the books that he is really passionate about, go to all the museums that he is really passionate about, have an internship with, in an archaeology department of local, institution, all these kind of things. And so I would say a big thing about it is the location where you do that. Say big cities, European cities, or big cities in US do have so many options and opportunities to educational opportunities. Like most of the universities, most of the museums, educational institutions have a bunch of opportunities for internships or these kind of things for homeschoolers. On the other hand, yes, it is a lot of management from the family and from the parents. Some parents really, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be an educational expert doing that, because there's a lot of information online and there are a lot of educational experts online that you can consult with, but it really takes a lot of self-management, time management, and to do that, because in school you get it as a pack. It's already, the schedule is set for you, all the curriculums are set for you, the teachers are already there for you, everything is there for you. And here,
and in a good school, I would say they also don't require you to track your kid too much and to build all the relationship and motivation and stuff on their own. So
right, and here you need really to pay close attention to that. And some think of it as a good thing, as actually, yes, I can pay attention if my kid is doing great in this subject, in this particular course with this particular teacher, and I can, if not, maybe we can think of something else. Maybe we can change path, or he's moving too fast, really fast, so he need extra. And this is what a school can provide. Yeah. Even the best school, they just don't have a capacity to, hire 100 math teachers that would match each individual kid. Yeah, so this is kind of thing, and this is also an option, and many families find it as a great, being a great experience and a great journey together with their kids, because of course it's like you definitely have more interaction with your kids than when they're in school. But other families find it challenging as well, because finding it really hard to manage, organizing, doing all these things. Yeah. And it kind of moves us to the hybrid schools too, which is, we're kind of moving back to, physical school system from here, or institutional school.
I mean, hybrid schools. So when we go into this hybrid and blended and all those terms, it's super vague in terms of what different people call different things with the same words, and that's confusing. So hybrid schools are kind of mixture of online and homeschools, as far as I guess, or regular like national schools and homeschooling and online, like some sort of a mixture of all those formats depending on the school. There are schools where kid is required to go to school like 2 days a week, for example, and the rest of the time they do something on their own, or the rest of the time they study online live, or they are required to show up from time to time in some physical space and submit some works or whatever, participate in some interactions. I would say there are different versions of hybrid schools, but I would say what it limits, it's obviously it has all the benefits of all those schools in terms of flexibility and the amount of extracurricular things you can do, and it allows a bigger flexibility in terms of written and self-paced studies. But I would say big limitation is that you still have to live near the school, because you have to show up there physically, right? Like at least once a week. So you can't actually travel a lot. Or you still study with, your kid still studies with other kids of the neighborhood. So yeah, that's, I would say, the limit, like that would be a disadvantage of a hybrid school for me if I were considering that option as a parent.
Yeah, if you are the family who are really on the move, or who think that you'll be moving for some parts of the year, spend like part of the year in one country and the other part of the year in the other, this is when it becomes really limiting.
Yeah, and I would say if you are having those, if your kid is still studying with kids from the neighborhood and still goes to school nearby, then why don't you just send them to a local school, like public school or something like that? That would be my question.
Parents might choose it because they just want, I mean, there are this kind of hybrid schools where you can just pick several subjects.
Yeah.
To
or
study.
have more.
Yeah, you cover the humanities subjects going into this hybrid school 2 days a week, but you have your own, I don't know, math school that your kids do in advanced math is, so you don't really need it from the public school because you cover it on your own somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this kind of things allows some flexibility, but still you're really tied to the location.
And then there are also obviously blended schools, which is what we do.
Which we
Once
are.
again, different people call different things blended schools. This is not a very common term. We call ourselves a blended school. What we do is we have a campus where students come in the beginning of the school year, stay there for 3 weeks, then they go home. Wherever they live, they can live in any country of the world, in Asia, in America, in Europe, wherever, and stay there for 2 months online. Then they come back for 3 weeks, go home for 2 months, and alternate this way, so that they have a total of 12 weeks per year for on-site sessions when they all come on site. So I would say, as a blended school, we blend boarding school and online school. Like, this is how I would describe this format. I would say we are a good fit for families who are on the move, who are changing different countries, and this is something we have a lot in our experience. We have a lot of students who would be doing this sort of things. We also are good for those parents who don't want to do too much of school management for their kids, because we do the whole thing, the schedule, the logistics. We do live classes in small groups. So we have the school community. We have all those motivation questions solved. And so if you don't want to be involved in your kids' education too much, unlike homeschooling, we are a good option for you. If you want to be involved, that's also a good option, because we are a small school. We're very open to any sort of discussions, negotiations. We are trying to build a parents community that has some impact on us and influence. And definitely parents can come and say, hey, we think that the better way to do something is like this. And then we implement those things. So I would say this is
I think, we can also say if you're changing school, since we're talking about changing, I think we can also talk about how we deal with when kids just come to the school for the first time. Like, what do we do in this case? How do we deal with all this changing school stress and adaptation and everything? Do you want to talk about this a little?
Oh, we do. I mean, that's a good question. Well, we have a whole first of all, we have a lot of new students all the time, and since they all come on site, living on site is kind of going to a summer camp. So this is like a whole small new world, and I would say blending in, starting from this on site is always easier, much easier than do this from the online. And then also we have a big team who's dedicated to support kids in this change. We have a psychologist, we have counselors who are very well trained, special people to be there to make sure that kids feel good, I would say. I mean, we also, our students community is, I would say, very supportive, since everyone changed school. We start at the age of 10. So before the age of 10, they spent 10 years doing or more elsewhere. So they all have this experience of changing school, of changing country where they live, for many of students, of doing this and that. And they are great at supporting each other psychologically, sharing tips, sharing some life hacks. And that's actually, I mean, no, is there anything I'm completely forgetting about?
Yeah, I mean, generally, we really we think it's really important to, when kids join school, like to really monitor where they are right now. I mean, emotionally and academically and everything, and address that. And really, we pay close attention when kids just join the school, especially for their first several weeks and a couple of months, to adjust, as much as we can, say, so they are in the group that really matches their educational level right now, not just any group, say, of their age kids, but really a group that would be a good fit for them. And because we really believe that how they feel in the beginning and how well they fit in really affects, well, how they learn. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we're kind of running out of time, because we've been talking for more than 40 minutes.
We have several questions that.
Yeah, I suggest we just quickly go through them, especially those who might be interesting for many people. If we for some reason forget to answer all your questions or just don't have time, please make sure that you typed it down. We'll answer in comments or in private messages if you do this way. So
one question about the school, about our school, like the last one.
So we got a question. Can a child join your school during the school year? Not at the start, because we may be moving midterm, and I'm studying different options for my 12-year-old daughter. Of course, you can join the school, our school, as well as basically any school in the middle of the school year. I would say we would be reluctant to admit students in the last month or two of the school year, because that's too little time. Like if we have just the on-site session left, for example, which is the conclusive on-site session when we close the school year, and then there's a whole new kid, that might be slightly too late. But I would say until the month of May, please come join us. If not, come join us in September. We'll be very welcoming. Anytime is a good time to join, right?
Yeah. Okay, I see another one.
Do we have any recommendations what to do to lessen the stress of changing schools?
Oh, yeah.
We are about to move to another country during the summer, and my son is going to start a new school in the fall, and I would like to make it easier for him. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think it's a question that many families are facing. I mean, I would say especially this year, but a lot. To lessen the stress, I mean, first, it's great that you are even asking this question, because we do really believe that lessening the stress affects their kids' learning a lot. And so the recommendations for the parents that we would, really give from our experience is, you have all these options, and I think the best thing that you can do is, of course, study all the options and think what would be the best fit for your family and for your child, and then decide on that, and making it as predictable for the child as possible, and not changing gears on their way, or something like changing your plans. Really lessens the stress a lot. Like if you decide on the option, whatever option it is, like a blended school like us, or a local school in the country that you're moving to, it would be great if your child knows ahead of time about it, and know as many details about it as you can possibly provide. If you can tour a physical school before the beginning of the year, that would be great. If you can meet some people from the school, even if it's an online school, that would be great. If you can meet some students from the school, that would be great. If you can learn something about the teachers, about, I don't know, meet with the principal, things like that. That really does lessen the stress a lot.
If a school has a website, definitely go through it. Make sure that you have a look. What we do in our school is we have this students interview. So once students want to join, we organize them a meeting with current students so that they can have an idea of people with whom they would be studying, or ask them any questions that they are maybe too shy to ask an adult about. So I think that's a good practice. And I would say generally get as much information as you can about the school. Make sure that your kid is as prepared as he or she or they, whatever, can be prepared. And don't hesitate to ask the school about what their recommendations would be.
Yeah.
They might say, we are running a summer school on our campus. Go join it, or something like that. And this sounds important. And a related kind of question is, Anna, you mentioned that your brother didn't speak any French when he went to French school at the age of 11. How did he do it? I mean, was there some special program at a school, or had he learned some basic French before moving to France? There is a special program that you have to go through when you are a foreigner moving into France, which is called a foreign student moving into France, which is called la classe d'accueil, like a reception class, I would say. Welcome class, I guess it's called in America. So that's a year where you study the special class. You learn French and you kind of get adjusted to the French schooling system, I would say if you are moving to a different country, definitely investigate into those options. My brother's class d'equal was great. He still has friends from there. We're still in touch with his teacher who was teaching him when he was 11. However, I would say, I would just say that in my experience, the more a country is serious and strict about people going to national schools, the better class d'equal or welcome class system they have, because the more they face this problem of foreigners moving into their country, and the need to adjust them. So yeah, look into this as well. And I also have a comment I would say that I really liked, which is you are describing all different types of schools over here. How am I supposed to choose out of those? What's the best? I mean, I would say, I don't know, what's your answer to that?
I would say I really deeply, believe that it's a very personal thing for a person, like for a family and for a child to decide. And there is no school ever, like whatsoever, that fits all. Even the best schools, and we really think of our school as being a really good one, but it might not be the best fit for some families or some particular kids for various reasons. And even the best local school or the best private school might not be the best fit. So it's even thinking about how your child does better. What is your family situation? What is your family style? Or even what do you think is important in learning? Because different schools, have different majors. They read different things as the most important, and focus on different things. So it's really a personal decision for that. I'd say other people, you can consult with people, meet with different schools representatives, but it's still, I think no other people can make this choice.
I would say don't trust people who tell you that their solution is the best for you, because no solution is the best for anyone. And also feel free and don't hesitate to contact different schools and talk to them and describe your kid and your situation and ask what they think, because good schools and good professionals of education, like professionals in schools, would always let you know if they believe that they're not a good fit for you. And this conversation might move you, or like I would say, push you towards some decision, and none of those conversations will be useless for you. So don't hesitate to talk to people who do schools. If you want to talk to us, you can schedule an appointment on our website, which is Sallay.academy. And then there's a small button where it says like click to schedule a call or something like this, and you would need to fill in some form, and you would get information in your mailbox that would have it. You would need to say it says with admissions or something like this, but if you write in comments that you want to talk to us, we'll just show up and we'll be happy to talk to you. Also, really sorry if we didn't answer on your comment or your question, but we'll answer on all of those as soon as we stop talking here. Please send us your questions if you have any comments, ideas, and yeah, we will contact us in any way. We answer everyone. We'll be happy to talk. Welcome. Yeah, please enjoy. Thank you for watching this. It's been long, but I hope it's been helpful. What do you think? Right?
Have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day, afternoon, night, or morning, depending on when you're watching this. Bye.